Yo, people, good afternoon and welcome back to Lee Judges TV. I'm your host, Dan Potts, and I am not alone today, as you can see. Lee Judges is back in the house. Lee, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Couple of days away. Oh, we had a couple of days away as well, so we've had a little bit of a break, haven't we? And we're back now. Euros is, I think, now starting
Hot
to get
up.
interesting. Yeah, hot up. That's
Yeah.
exactly the word you need. It's hotting up, So a bit like the weather over the weekend. It's hotting up.
How was
But
it, mate? How was the weekend for you?
yeah, it was very
Enjoy
good,
it?
very good. The weather was unbelievable. But it was a bit of a wind, and a few of us all got burnt. Unbelievable because of the wind. You didn't actually think it was that warm. That warm, yeah. So a few got caught out by that, So, and I don't know why it is, Dan. Right? Because you're bald, right? People feel like that during the evening, it's all right to tap you on the head. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why, you know what I mean? So when you got sunburned, they're all kind of go, all right, Lee, fuck it. Do you know what I mean? Real pain and everything with my head. But I just feel it's all right to just give it a little tap. You know what I mean? I don't know why. Why do that? Someone with hair, they don't go around with someone with hair giving it a tap, do they? Have you noticed that? So,
No, you're right, mate. You're right. It's that as well. They go give it a rub, don't they,
yeah,
sometimes?
give it a rat, especially when it's a little bit tender. Oh, no consideration for the ball man, on this boat,
Mate, I'm glad you had a good time, man. I missed it, to be honest. Obviously, you did a show without me where I was away in Centre Parks with the family, and I come back for the weekend, and you were away. So I did a couple of shows yesterday. We discussed an all-time England team with the chat, which was a good laugh, and before
Yeah,
that, we
come
went
on,
through
man.
some Arsenal transfers as well. So we're back to talk about all things sport, and we are, of course, going to talk about tonight's games and tomorrow's games. But to be fair, Lee, there's been a few things happen since we've been away, to be honest, away from the Euros. Obviously, the Grand Prix, I know you're not massively into Formula One, but this season is going to get really interesting. Max
Mm.
Verstappen is right up Lewis Hamilton's tail. And I say he's up his tail because I think overall Lewis Hamilton probably is the best, but he's leading at the moment, Max Verstappen, the championship, and he won again.
Yeah,
So I think that is going to be a really interesting season this season between those two. And it just reminds me, Lee, of the year Nico Rosberg won ahead of Lewis Hamilton. It just got that bit of feeling about it. The Red Bull car is right up there with the Mercedes, and I think it's going to be interesting. And of course, Wimbledon started today, mate.
yes,
Djokovic
yeah.
has just won.
He's just gone through, beating the English lad, isn't he? So it's Wimbledon when Wimbledon starts. You know what? Because you look out and it's always pouring with rain there, so it's Wimbledon started.
Oh, you know
So,
it is, mate.
yeah, and don't forget we've got. I'm going Wimbledon on Thursday, and this is going
You
to be
are.
our first little. We're going to do a little show, a little bit of filming at Wimbledon. So it's going to be like, and we're going to try and put it all together and do a little Wimbledon thing. So hoping that it'll all come together, and we're going to do a bit of filming at Wimbledon. Going to go behind the scenes, a little bit of what it's like to be at Wimbledon, a bit of hospitality, show you around there, show a little bit around the courts, bit of Henman Hill and all that, So look out for that. Look out for that if you're interested in that. We'll see if we can put it all together and make it into a nice little 10, 15-minute video, something like that. So we're looking forward to that. It's our first chance of doing something, isn't it? So a little bit different out and about and away from the studio. And if these things get popular, there's a few other things that we've got lined up, which we will be doing over the next few weeks, and we're looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It should be good, man. Wimbledon, Djokovic is my favourite. Is it you as well? Are you going for him?
Oh, without that, and especially with no Nadal there now, I can't see anything past Djokovic. The women's one's more of an open book, if I'll be honest, but I can't see past Djokovic, if I'll be honest. No, I really can't.
Do you know my all-time favourite tennis player is Roger Federer, man. I absolutely love the guy. But at 39,
Ooh.
you just sit there and think, do you know what? Maybe his time is Djokovic, really, isn't it? Now he's winning everything. I think the guy is probably as good. I don't know, but I think overall he's my favourite Federer. I just loved everything about him.
Well, I think if Federer's going to win it, it's going to be this year. This is going to be his last chance of winning it, because I think the reason is because Djokovic just come back from the French Open and had a lot of rest and had a lot of practice. on the grass, and particularly games, so which showed today because he dropped a set, the first set today, so it could be a little bit rusty. So if with no Nadal there as well, this is a great chance for Federer to just maybe get one more Wimbledon lot. But yeah, I'm with you on that. An absolute machine. Not my favourite ever player. I think like Andre Agassi would probably be mine, if I'll be honest. But I like Lendl, McEnroe. There's been some fantastic players over the times. Nadal's up there for me as well. Like at this moment in time, he's up there with my favourite. Of course, Andy Murray is on court in, well, sometimes I would say round about 6 o'clock tonight. I think you'll be seeing a bit of Andrew Murray for the first time in 4 years, Dan. First time
Unbelievable.
in 4 years. Unbelievable, like, so I love to see him do well, but can't see it, too many too much time out of it, like. But hopefully get a couple of rounds in and hopefully make the second week. That's important if you can do that.
I've never been a massive fan, mate, if I'm honest. Andy Murray, I've never got it. Never understood the obsession. I think he's a very good player, but I just find him a bit annoying, if I'm honest. But each to their own.
Each to their own. That's very interesting to know that. Like, I quite like Andy Murray, like, so it was very emotional.
A lot of people do.
Is it
I'm
like,
going to bring this up because a lot.
Well,
Sorry, a lot of people have been asking about this, Lee. We will sort this out. I promise you. We are going to get some moderators for the channel. So we will sort that out. Devon is asking, big up, Dan, can I be a moderator? We have a few people that have asking us, so that will happen at some stage, and we shall get in touch with you. Because we've had quite a lot of people ask about that. Sorry, Lee, you were just saying about Murray and emotion of Wimbledon. Yeah,
it's just saying, like if you ever have the chance to go to Wimbledon, you've got to go there. It's a special place.
Oh, it's brilliant. It is brilliant.
Yeah. It's just something, it's unbelievable. Just the awe of the place, like, So, it's very good there. Some saying Andy Roddick in the
great player.
He did, like, So, big serve and done really well at Wimbledon for a couple of years. Yeah, so. There's just so many good players. It's just such an event, And I'll tell you what, I don't know about what people feel. When Wimbledon's on, I feel like it's summer. It's just
absolutely.
It's just feel like it's summer, and like strawberries and cream. I think in Wimbledon are about well over a tenner. I'm pretty sure, like that. I mean, it's an absolute rip-off. But these.
Got to be done though, mate. It's got to be done, innit? You can't go there without. It's like tradition, innit?
Bims, is always very nice. So it's a very, very nice occasion, and I just like, the Wimbledon tennis lawn. I just like that at my garden. You know what I mean? Like the way they get it to perfection. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, it's outstanding.
I've been a gardener. I've never got my lawn to that perfection. Like it's never been out.
No, it is great. I do love Wimbledon. We'll look forward to your little trip up to Wimbledon, and we'll clip that up and put it on a channel. It should be a good day.
Born in Wimbledon, Dan, you know that, don't you? Born in Wimbledon.
I did know. Yeah, there you go. See, learn something new every day. People in the chat.
Obviously, by the sound of my voice, I move very quickly.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Didn't pick up the posh Wimbledon accent. Mate, what has been happening though in terms of the Euros is quite a few games. It got a really tasty last week towards the end of the group stages, and we've started to see some teams being knocked out already. We might as well start with the last few days, and then we'll go back to last week to what might be happening over the coming days before we lead into the England-Germany game. But I don't know about you, but Italy have been looking very, very good, but it weren't easy for them against Austria. Going into extra time, Austria surprised me. Hell of a game, mate, towards extra time. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I didn't see much of the game. See a little bit of it towards the end. And let's be honest, if I wouldn't say a dodgy offside, but a very, very close offside call, and Italy could be going out. And this is the thing about these Euros. It's thin lines, Look at the Netherlands yesterday. One mistake cost them, and now they're out. So listen, I think that Italy are in a very, very good position. I did agree with what Roy Keane said yesterday about Italy. I think it was yesterday he said it, that it's not just the 11, they've got substitutes come on when they was needed, contributed, making things happen. I think that's a good sign of a good squad. So Italy, I think they're going to be there and thereabouts. I thought the game yesterday was fantastic, Belgium and Portugal. I thought it was a brilliant game.
Well, listen, we both had them in our sweepstake. I had bloody Portugal and Russia. Portugal and Austria. They've both gone out within 2 days now, my sweepstake. And you've had Belgium, didn't you? So
I've still got Belgium in there, and I've also I've got with the AFTV thing got there's a PlayStation 5 up for grabs. And I'm not a gamer anyway, so if the Czech Republic do win that, you know what I mean, it could be a prize up for us, like because I'm not a gamer. So but I'm in the last 8. I didn't think I was going to get in. I thought I was going to, when I looked at it, I thought we'd go out straight away. But got Denmark in the next round, So that's going to be an interesting one. I thought Wales were poor the other night.
Awful.
Disappointed. I thought they started off really well on. I thought that they was going to do well. Ramsey looked like the Ramsey of old in the first 20 minutes, and then faded. I just can't believe how quick Gareth Bale was faded. He was absolute world class. When he was at Spurs and he went to Real Madrid, he's just ordinary now, just absolutely ordinary. And I can't believe how quick he's just diminished. It's unreal. It's unreal. But they were very, very poor. Denmark were good. So at this moment in time, that's the group or the side you don't want to be on, and love and behold, England are not on that side, So massive opportunities, massive.
100%, and I'm with you on Gareth Bale. I thought him and Ramsey were really poor. Italy haven't lost a game under Mancini, so you've got to look at them as strong favourites personally going into this game, into this Euros. Now, I'm with you last night, Belgium, Portugal, particularly the second half. I thought it was some outstanding play. There really was.
Game.
I mean,
brilliant
I thought Lukaku, Lukaku's really coming into his own. Since he's left Man United, he's stepped up a gear, hasn't he? And brilliant with Inter Milan, brilliant for Belgium. And it was just being pelted at their goal at one stage, but it was always that counter-attack on, just because Portugal were throwing everything at it. The Ronaldos, the João Felix. It was just a nuts game end to end, weren't it? So really exciting stuff, mate. Looks like even Sweden versus Poland the other night. I thought to myself, the last second half of that, I thought, what is going on here? Absolutely nuts game. Spain as well. They're a strange old side. Played the best football. Haven't got a number 9. I think Morata's been very disappointing for them. And they were absolutely hammering teams. So it's absolutely nuts, mate. It's all going to go off. But one group that was absolutely crazy was massive for England's opponents. And at one stage, I think we had every single team. France, Germany, and Portugal and Hungary. It was like, who actually are we going to get here? At one stage, it looked like it was going to be Hungary. At one stage, it was looking like Portugal. Then it went back to France. And then finally, it is, of course, Germany. That group, I got to say it before we move on, Lee. Big up Hungary. They should have got absolutely hammered. They deserve a lot of credit, don't they?
They was fantastic. And I'll tell you what, they was very, very unlucky in that game against Germany. It could have gone either way. They'd given them a real good go. They were unlucky. And I think that all of them teams really, really put in good performances. It was a great group to be in. At one stage here, I think at one stage, Germany were bottom, and then within 1 minute, they was like top of the group. It was incredible, It was absolutely incredible. And then, France, I think France ended up winning it, didn't it? And Germany, I think, come second. And of course, Portugal third, and Portugal now have gone out, and it could have been Hungary, and you just don't know. This is the greatest thing about this tournament, man. No one really, I don't think, has set the bar high enough to say, they're going to win it. But the other teams have really come onto their own. The Czech Republic, for instance, put in a brilliant performance yesterday. Denmark were outstanding. As you say, Hungary have put in a performance you would never have believed. And I'll tell you what, yesterday, even though they went out, Portugal were fantastic. So that was a really, really tough group. And for Hungary to draw with France and Germany, unbelievably lost to Portugal. was an incredible achievement, and they should be proud of themselves for what they done. And I wouldn't want to go there on a difficult evening, and because they give you a game. So be interesting now to see what happens today with Sweden, Ukraine. Not today, tomorrow, but in to see who we get in, or possible. I should jump in the gun there. Who England and Germany could get in a quarter final. So, and as you say with Spain, I think Spain is still a dangerous animal, Dan. If they Morata form, then all of a sudden they'd be a dangerous animal as well. So loads to play for. It'd be interesting to see that game tonight. I'm looking forward to the games tonight, to be honest. Looking forward to them.
Yeah, I am too. I think Croatia have still always got danger, haven't they? All of them. But I know Perisic is tested positive for COVID. It'll be a huge loss. But obviously, you've got Morata and Moreno that have been pretty disappointing so far. But that they've got quality. So if they do turn it on, then Spain could be someone. I remember speaking to Kenny Ken and Jez, and they were both saying, "Oh, we think Spain will win the whole thing." We think Spain will go the whole way. And I just thought, I don't think they got a number 9. And their number 9, of course, is Morata, and he's just been poor. The other game tonight is France and Switzerland. I still fancy France for the whole tournament. I always kind of feel, Lee, that it's not always the best team that start well that win it. And Italy are the one that started well. So I'll be surprised if Italy do win it. Do you know what I mean? And France have just been there or thereabouts, and obviously went through in their group quite comfortably in the end in the group of death. And they have got the best squad, mate. You talk about Italy and Roy Keane saying that Italy have got a good squad. It's not as good as France. France's strength in depth is unbelievable. And you just wonder, Lee, what would happen to Paul Pogba if N'Golo Kante played for Man United? Because if he can bring that form to the Premier League, I think he'd be absolute lightning, wouldn't he? He's just top class.
Yeah, they suit each other, them two, and that's a good partnership they've got in there. They've got some good defenders as well. Pogba is a different animal when he plays for France, isn't he? He really is. He bosses it. He's shows a lot of power. I like what he's done for this side, but I think him and Kante alongside him really they just suit each other. I think sometimes good partnerships happen. He's got it with him at France, and they do really look good. I will say this: the front three of France is fantastic. They've not quite functioned yet, so if they do, then I think France will blow everybody away. Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. But I've been impressed with Belgium as well. But Belgium got a couple of injuries now, a couple of big injuries as well. So De Bruyne and Hazard taking them two out of the team, I think puts them back into the pack as well. So for me, still France, and it'd be interesting to see how France go against Switzerland today. Whether they struggle or whether they're blown away. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
It will be indeed, and I think that with the injuries to Belgium, you look at the lack of creativity there. Now that De Bruyne and Hazard has gone, and the fact that they're playing Vermaelen, Vertonghen and Alderweireld at the back, who, let's be honest, have got experience, but in their late 30s, all of them. So a pacey striker in Mbappe is going to cause them an absolute nightmare. So for me, I'm still going France. Let's concentrate on tomorrow's night, mate. We'll talk about England in a bit and what you think the team's going to be, but Germany, I just didn't want them, mate. If I'm honest with you, just because of the history of it. I do fear the worst. I fear a narrow loss, but let's come to that later. What do you make of Germany in this tournament? Do you think that they've got some players, of course, that can hurt us, but more importantly, do you think that we can get past them, Lee?
I think they're very, very similar to us in stature and everything at this moment in time. They've got some good players. They've got players like Sane and Gnabry, for instance, that have not quite hit it off at this moment in time. They've been a little bit subdued, a little bit like a couple of the England guys. And dare I say it, I don't think that Germany know what quite is their best side as well, a little bit like us. So I think whoever gets the team selection right tomorrow and the tactics to right tomorrow, it will be a big advantage. And I think that big players turn up and make themselves accountable. And I think that Gnabry's not done that yet, nor has Sane. Certainly Harry Kane hasn't. So, it depends out of all those sort of players, which ones turn up. And I've got a feeling that England have just got... I think England have just got enough Maybe not from the start, but from the bench. I think our bench is very, very strong, and I think that's a key for us tomorrow. But Germany, listen, everybody's turning around and saying, "Oh yeah, we beat the Germans" and all that. Like, I remember in '96, I thought we was a far better team than the Germans. I'll be honest, and we didn't beat them. So they're not as good as they were when they won the World Cup, and they steamrolled us that time with the Frank Lampard goal and everything like that. But they're not as, but they're still a worry, and they've got some very, very good players, particularly going forward. And I think the key is going to be for them because, with the false nine that they play, and I don't like that as you well know, but Muller plays that role, and if he plays it and plays it well, we could be in trouble.
Yeah, I think you're right there, mate. I think the midfield is key for England because I think Germany's midfield is outstanding with Kroos, Gundogan. You've mentioned, Havertz, Gnabry, and Muller. They're kind of playing free at the back at the moment, which I imagine they'll carry on doing. And then they use their kind of false nine, as you say. I think they got some great players that play some great football. I was really impressed with them against Portugal the other week. I thought that was one of the best games of the tournament. Absolutely outstanding. And I think they're going to cause us a lot of problems. But let's touch on England quickly. I still don't have faith in Southgate. But the only good thing positive I can have with it, Lee, is that we ain't conceding goals. And that's always a good sign. Problem is, we ain't exactly scoring many either. So I don't know about you, and correct me if I'm wrong here, and if you think this is out of order, but I'm looking at this England side thinking it's quite similar to Arsenal. It's very negative. It's very defensive. We ain't scoring goals and hatfuls, but we're quite kind of improved at the back. We can't get our fullbacks right. We can't decide on a centre-half pair. We can't decide on a centre midfield. It sounded a bit similar to me to Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think that's when inexperience of managers comes into play a little bit, because I think Southgate, even though he's got the experience of the other tournament, still for me just doesn't know what his best team is. I really don't. I think sometimes we were talking about this, funny enough, at the weekend. You can be scratching around, working things out, trying to find a system, trying to find a team, and you just, and then all of a sudden maybe get an injury to someone or something happens, and all of a sudden it falls in your lap and you've got a team of, and you go on from there. And I think that Gareth Southgate, if I'll be honest, has been a little bit fortunate with the COVID situation, because that's meant that he's been able to get in Grealish and get in Saka for that game, and it's fallen for him. That they were the best two players the other night. Was it last week? It was last Tuesday, I think it was. And have been outstanding. I think that in the last 4 or 5 internationals, Grealish and Saka have started. I think Grealish has got 3 man in the match and Saka's got 2. It just tells you that they're the informed players. But are they the favourites? And do they actually deliver a cup of tea and biscuits to Gareth Southgate's room in the morning? So probably that he doesn't. You know what I mean? Probably Foden does that, and certainly Sterling and Mason Mount, with the biscuits and cream, and making sure that they get him up early in time, because otherwise I just can't see why these two are not playing. For me, Grealish is the first name on the team sheet, alongside Harry Kane, and Saka, I think, has played himself into the team. Now, there is talk that he might not play in that game. If that is the case, then if England go out, then Gareth Southgate should resign straight after it, as far as I'm concerned, because all of a sudden you've got 2 players in form, playing well. Why would you leave them out? And that is the thing. And I'm afraid that when you're England manager or top class manager, you have to make difficult decisions and bold decisions. This is the one where it is a little bit tough on. I think it's a little bit tough on Foden, but Foden played the first 2 games. As much as I think he's a fantastic footballer, a brilliant player, to me, didn't take his chance. Jack Grealish and Saka have come in 1 game, 2 games, and have took their chances, and that for me is enough. and that's how it is. You can look at the defensive side of things. Mings would be very, very unfortunate to be left out, but Maguire came in and done a good job. So he put himself in the frame for that, Jude Bellingham, another one that could come in there, but Phillips had an opportunity and he took it, Dan. He took it. You could leave Declan Rice out for him there. I don't think he will. I think Southgate will go with the two holding midfield players. When you talk about the defensive side being good, that's because they're getting good protection in front of them with Rice and Phillips. So I don't think that'll change there. But I think that I think either one or the other. I think you'll either see Southgate going with Saka and maybe on the bench, and then Grealish playing all the other way around. I can't see Grealish and Saka playing again in the same. And as much as I'd love to see it, and this is why I don't like Gareth Southgate. He's fallen on a little bit of luck, got his players in form, and I've got a feeling that he'll go back and change it a little bit. And whatever you think about Sterling, he's stuck with him, and he's delivered with 2 goals. So I think Sterling will continue there. Harry Kane has been poor, but you can't leave him out. So, and I think it'll be like Grealish or Saka. You could actually say Foden will come in there. I've got a feeling that maybe even it could probably be Foden and probably Mount coming back in, and Grealish and Saka being left out, which would be criminal.
I think you're right, mate. And surely this comment, we've got to wait and see what happens first. We can't be giving him an extension yet. We have to see what happens in this tournament. Pap has said, what do you think about Southgate's extension until 2024? He's got to wait and see what happens in League before we start giving him a contract extension.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because I think, listen, he was very, very fortunate in the World Cup with the path that he had to get to the semi-final. He's very, very fortunate on this one. Now, look at 1998, for instance, when we got through to the group stages. Our first opponents were Argentina. If we'd have beaten Argentina, we'd have got Holland. If we'd have beaten Holland, we would have got Brazil, and then we'd have got France in the final. That's how to win a World Cup, and that's But to go through and beat Germany, Ukraine, Sweden, Czech Republic or Denmark to get to the final. Come on, you know what I mean? There's no excuses. There's no excuses.
No, I agree.
This should be plain sailing, in my opinion, if they get past Germany. Now, this Germany side is not like the German teams of old. It's still a good side, but it's not a power unit. And Holland were never the side that they were. Holland, for instance, I've always grown up all through my footballing life with Holland with 5 or 6 superstars. Not just world class. Yeah. And now they've not got one. You know what I mean? So so this is a fantastic opportunity for Gareth Southgate. He failed in the World Cup as far as I was concerned. Yes, we got to the semi-final, but we only played one decent team. That was Belgium, and we lost to them both times. So, and I don't think that Croatia side were fantastic by any shape or form. So, for me, it would be fair. And I would look at it and go, do you know what? If we had a real top manager here, I'd feel a lot more confident, because I think the top manager would play Saka and the top manager would play Grealish, because you know what? They've got the bottle to do it. I honestly don't think that Southgate will do that tomorrow, and we'll wait and see. I might be wrong, and he does do that. But when you've got players in form, and he has gone on record to say, "Oh, well, I play the players in form." Well, you've got Grealish, and I'll be honest with you, Dan, and this is no way me being biased, because you know what I think of Jack Grealish. Saka was better than Grealish. Grealish hasn't pulled up trees in his performances. He's done okay. He's played well and still will get in my team. But Saka was the man on that game. He was fantastic. So for him to be left out would be a real big kick in the old goolies as far as I'm concerned.
100% agree. I thought Saka was outstanding. Grealish was second best on the pitch. But unfortunately, mate, I don't think they're both going to start. I brought up the team, which I think it's going to be, and I've gone for the Germany side of what I think it will be as well. I'm just going to share it up on the screen
Yeah,
because I don't, I don't know what you think about this, Lee, but I've just got a feeling it is going to be this. Obviously, Pickford's going to be in goal. I think the back four will be Walker, Stones, Maguire, and Shaw. Could be Trippier. You might fancy Trippier instead of Shaw, but personally, I think he'll keep it at that. I think Jordan Henderson's played enough minutes to come in now, and I think that he's going to see him as a better option than Bellingham or Phillips. I just think he will play next to Declan Rice. He seems to love Declan Rice. And of course, he loves the guy in front, Mason Mount. Apparently, he's back now in contention. It says on Sky Sports, both Mason Mount and Phil Foden are going to play. So that means, in my opinion, Jack Grealish and Bukayo Saka are going to be on the bench because he ain't going to drop Sterling because he's been our goal scorer, and he isn't going to drop Harry Kane. What do you make of that England team, first of all, before we come on to Germany, Lee?
Yeah, I think that it wouldn't surprise me if Gareth Southgate done that. Like, Henderson, I still think maybe just not quite ready. So I think that he'll probably go with Phillips in there, if I'll be honest. And that was the only change. The only other way of getting Saka in that team is to play him instead of Shaw at left back. And I don't think that he's bold enough to do that, if I'll be honest. That what I would do, if it would be that you could put Foden in place of Mount and then Grealish or Saka on the on that right hand side, that would be the way I would go. But again, Mount's more of a safe option. You could actually play what he done on the game there, where Jack Grealish played in Mount's position. And realistically, if you've got two holding midfield players, whether it be Henderson, Rice, and Phillips, two out of that three, then surely you can play Grealish in there and give it a little bit more attacking point of view. I think that if he goes negative against Germany, then I feel that without Grealish and Saka in that I think if we played that side, I think Germany were slight favourites.
Fair play. What about if this was to happen? Jordan Henderson or Phillips? How about if we drop Mount with Rice because he's got the legs, and then you bring in Foden into the middle, and then you bring in your Saka or your Grealish into that sort of spot there? Do you think that could be an option, or do you think that's just
that would be much better for me? That would be much better for me. But I think that's how we'll end up the game because we'll be chasing it. And if we can keep it tight and win 1-0, I think that's the way Southgate will play it. But as I say, we're looking at here. The best performance, individual performance of the whole free game was Saka's performance, and we're talking about him not playing in the team. And that's the case. Maybe I think that if England are going to win this game, Kane has got to come up for the. Has got to definitely step up to the plate. If he doesn't, I think that we're in trouble.
I agree. Harry Kane has got to turn up at some point in this tournament. I thought he was terrible again, if I'm honest with you. Caps is saying he'd swap Foden for Sancho, another player that isn't getting a look in at the moment. He also says, what about Jude Bellingham? Bellingham and Sancho both playing at Dortmund and haven't really got a look in. What do you make of both of these players? Do you think they're going to need to be used more, Lee? Because he hadn't really brought on many subs, considering we're allowed to bring on 5. He hadn't really changed it up too much, has he, in games?
Well, I think Bellingham is a terrific player, and I was very surprised that he didn't play. But the fact in the minute is that Phillips came in, and this is what I'm saying about certain things, is that Phillips has come in, and that game that he played pushed him into the side.
Class,
he was brilliant, pushed him into the side. And I think that's stop Bellingham playing, and that's the way it is. Now Saka's done exactly the same thing, so if you're going to play Saka and drop him out of it, then you can probably drop Phillips out of it as well, because it doesn't seem to be the same for one rule for one rule for the other. But for me, Bellingham is unfortunate because Phillips has played really, really well. If Phillips didn't play well in that first game, I think Jude Bellingham would be in. The same with Sancho. You know what I mean? Like, who are you going to drop for? For Sancho? Foden? Yes, you could do that. But then, so that means you're going to play Sancho instead of Saka. I'll put Saka in front of Sancho at the moment. Nothing other than the fact is that he's got in there and done the business. if he brings in Jordan Sancho for this game, well, and leaves out Saka and leaves out Foden, I'll be very, very surprised. The best player moving into the tournament was probably Foden, if I'll be honest, but he hasn't performed in the last 2 games, but because he's young, because he's not as experienced as Harry Kane, he's being scapegoated, if you like, or being left out, or could be coming back in. But ultimately, if Foden comes in, he's got to produce. If he doesn't, we're in trouble. And then if you look at it and you think to yourself, right, okay, Foden comes in place of Saka, no problem with that. If he performs, brilliant. If he doesn't, you have to look at the manager then and go, well, hold on a minute, you had an informed player and you didn't play him, and you played him there. So very, very difficult. If he was going to play Jadon Sancho, why didn't he give him minutes in the game before? To chuck him in now in this game, in a knockout stage after 3 group games when you've not got a minute, would be a massive, massive gamble and a little bit unfair on the player as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Cap's makes a good point here. He says if you're going to play them at all, Sancho and Bellingham may play well, as they know most of the German players because they play against them every week. So if there is a time to bring them in, then I suppose logic would say it would be against Germany. But I totally agree with you. It would be very, very harsh on the likes of Saka and Grealish, and of course Foden, who deserve their place as much as the others. Let's just bring the 2 teams up again, Lee, because I also want to talk about what you think is going to be the danger for us against Germany, because Germany got some fantastic players. But before we do that, if that is going to be the England side, which I think it probably will be very similar to that, have we got enough there, do you think?
Well, this is what I'm saying. The front 3, like, Müller, Gnabry, could be Sane that plays in there. Havertz, has done really, really well. That's a good front 3. I don't think it's quite clicked as much as it should do, but then you look at the midfield. Gundogan, I don't think has quite been at his best for this tournament here. And this is the worry with the Germans, when they just seem to get through, and then all of a sudden, when it matters, they click. Now, if they do click and they do produce, that Germany team can beat anybody. Gnabry has been very, very quiet in this competition so far. But look, when he played against English opposition in the Champions League, he's turned up and performed. So for me, Havertz is one of those guys that, I'm going to say this now, big time player. Every time it comes to a real big game, he steps up for Germany and for Chelsea. So, on paper, I would say there's not a lot in it. Dan, I really do feel, you'd say that Harry Kane's better than Müller, but on current form, you probably wouldn't. They're probably about the same. Foden and Gnabry have not produced. Sterling and Havertz have, if you go down that. And then their midfield of Kroos and Gundogan has probably just been about the same as that. There's nothing really between it, So I think the goalkeepers, Neuer, he's probably a better goalkeeper, but what he's doing for one of the goals against Hungary, he just come rushing out. Where Pickford, I'll be honest, has not say overperformed, has played better than what his current form in the last sort of year or so for England has suggested. So he's stepped up to the plate a little bit, So I think it'd be really interesting. I feel if Sterling and Saka are in that team, I feel a little bit more confident. If that's the team that's going to play, or there and thereabouts, I would, but as I say, I'm leaning more towards Germany. But I think if Grealish and Saka are in that, I'm leaning towards England, and that's how important I think team selection is going to be for this game. It's just fine lines, and I think that it could come down to just who's there and who's not.
I totally agree with you. I'm just looking at that midfield as well. Gundogan and Kroos is a very, very strong midfield. I think Rice and Henderson are going to have to try and match them. They are, because I think that's where the battle's going to be won. I know there's some great pace around with Sterling, Havertz, Foden, Gnabry, etc. But let's bring this team down, because, Lee, this could go to extra time and penalties. If it does, we've got to discuss it. Penalties. Do you fancy some of the English lads to put their penalties away? We've got amazing attacking quality. And at the time when we would be going to extra time and penalties, we would have made some changes. And you'd like to think the likes of Saka, Grealish, Sterling, Kane have got enough in their locker to put a penalty away. Germany, however, I would say have got probably as a strong attacking players to take penalties. So, is it kind of looking at it penalties? Is it about quality or is it about your nerve, or do you need a bit of both?
I think it's a lot down to the nerve and all that. And do you know what? I feel that we'd be all right on the penalties. I wouldn't be that. I wouldn't be sort of saying, "Oh, that's it now. We're not going to go through." I think in Harry Kane, we've got one of the best penalty takers. Whether you love him or not, when it comes to penalties, he's pretty productive. Grealish, I think, would step up quite comfortably coming off the bench or playing. Saka, I think, would be the same in there. I think then you look other players. I think Henderson would be okay. Probably wouldn't be on the bit, but I think people like Bellingham, if they was involved, you've got youth, the arrogance of youth, if you like, where they would, I think, would be okay. I really do, like, you know. So I don't really fear penalties, and I think with Pickford in goal, he's as good as anybody at penalties. So I think if it goes to penalties, I think we've got it's 50-50. Do you know what? In the past, it's always been 60-40 towards the Germans or something like that. But I think that we've got a good enough penalty takers in there, and I do think we've got that little bit of, not arrogance in a nasty way about us. We've got that little bit of swagger about us with the youth and all that. We've got some damn good young players coming through in this team, and I think that all playing at big clubs, all playing a good standard of football, I think we'd be all right. I think that you know, it really does come down to team selection and I think that the odd substitution. I really do. I think it'd be a close game.
I do as well. We're going to go for predictions before we start wrapping up, Lee. I hate doing this, but I've just got a bad feeling about it tomorrow night. I just have. My head is telling me that it's going to be a narrow loss and the Germans are going to beat us 2-1. But I've got to be optimistic, so I'm going to go for a good old-fashioned 1-0 England, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in it. I just don't. So I think it will be a narrow loss, but I'm going to try and remain positive and optimistic and say that we'll do it 1-0. What are you going for, Lee?
I'm exactly going for that. England to win it 1-0. I think that we've just got that. If I'll be honest, even if Saka and Grealish don't play, I just think we've got that little bit more on an attacking front, and I think we've got enough to beat them from there. I am looking at that from the performance against the Czech Republic, where I thought we played a lot better, and that's why I'm going for one. I think before that game, I would probably say that Germany are afraid, but I like Maguire coming back in there, even though Ming's done well. I think that you're right there with Henderson can come in at some stage, whether it be starting or on the bench, and just keep things on an even keel for us. And I think that we've got, I think, players, whether it be starting or on the bench, that can just get us over the line on this one.
Fair play. Do you fancy France and Spain to both go through tonight, Lee?
I do. I think France will turn up tonight and will beat Switzerland comfortably. I really do. Like, you know, Spain. Yeah, I think that they need Croatia. No mugs though, no mugs. But I think that maybe another one going to extra time. No games yet gone to penalties, so I don't think they will be tonight. Maybe tomorrow, but I think that we'll see Spain and France go through. If any one of them's going to go out, it'll be Spain.
Fair play. I totally agree with that, mate. And just before we wrap up, if we do go through tomorrow night, obviously we're going to have a fairly decent run. Sweden and Ukraine, Czech Republic or Denmark, and of course, will be then in the final. Do you think if we go through against Germany, we are going to find it easier to get to this final, or do you think we're still going to slip up along the way?
July the 11th. Make sure you're doing nothing Sunday night, because England will be in the European final.
He's done it.
They beat Germany. If they beat Germany, they will go through against either Sweden or Ukraine or Czech and Denmark. Got no worries about that whatsoever. This is the one. This is the one to see if we go to the final or not.
There we go. You've heard it here, people. Lee Judges says if we win tomorrow, we will be in the final. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Lee, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, everybody in the chat, for sticking with us. Really enjoyed that, Lee, actually. It was nice to have you back.
Gone quick again. Gone quick again. We get back in on the Wednesday, perhaps on the Wednesday about this time, maybe, just to see what review what's happened. Review what's happened, like, you know. So
we shall. We've got some shows planned this week, so now that we're back together, we can start to plan this week. To look at the Euros and some of the other sports that's going on, particularly in Wimbledon. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about. I am sure, no doubt. Lee, enjoy your time in Wimbledon, mate. I'm sure you'll have a great day, mate.
That's on a Thursday, so I'm going on a Thursday. So hopefully we'll be back on Wednesday. We're not too sure yet. See what happens, but and then I will be doing a little bit of filming down Wimbledon way. And we shall have a little bit of Wimbledon stuff to bring you as soon as we can, hopefully before the Wimbledon's over with, and you can check that out. And we're going to be doing something different over the next couple of days.
Brilliant stuff. Lee, been a pleasure. Guys, been a pleasure. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Enjoy the football tonight. And tomorrow night, come on, England.